So this morning, oh my Lord, panic in New England. Super Bowl's over. Oh my God, it's over. Brady shot. See, really? Let's see. First downs, New England had twice as many as Houston. Third down efficiency, New England was over 50%. They passed for 300 yards. They rushed for 3 times as many yards as the Texans and dominated time of possession. No, they just have a problem in New England. It's called Antonio Brown. If he's on the team today, they're favored to win the Super Bowl. Folks, football in America is changing. Kids are smart. I see it in California high school recruiting. The top 100 players in California next year, 30 are wide receivers, 10 are quarterbacks. Kids don't want to play running backs because they can't get a second contract. Kids want to be wide receivers because they'll sign you early for a third or a fourth contract. And New England does one thing not very well: wide receiver. That's why they had to go get Josh Gordon and had to roll the dice on Antonio Brown. Houston does a lot of things wrong, but they got the quarterback right and the wide receiver right. I watch the Houston Texans on a weekly basis get out-coached, out-schemed, outsmarted, and outplayed. But Deshaun Watson rolls out, throws a flag football up in the air, flag football play, they diagram, and one of their unbelievable wide receivers goes and catches it. Minnesota, Baltimore, San Francisco, Kansas City, Houston have done a really good job to stay ahead of the curve and pay for wide receivers and scout wide receivers and go get wide receivers. It allows you freebies. It allows you to get out-coached and outplayed and win. New England does not have an ace on the pitching staff, therefore forcing Julian Edelman, who'd be a great number 2, to be their number 1. And Mohamed Sanu, who'd be a great number 3, to be their number 2. Ask yourself this if you think the season's over for New England. Are they good enough at head coach to win a Super Bowl? Yes. Are they good enough on defense to win a Super Bowl? Yes. Are they good enough on special teams to win a Super Bowl? Yes. Are they good enough with their coordinators and their offensive line to win a Super Bowl? Yes. Are they good enough at running back to win the Super Bowl? Yes. Are they good enough at quarterback to win the Super Bowl? Yes, they are. They did it last year. But they're not good enough at weapons. Therefore, forcing New England to have to be perfect. No penalties, 12-play drives, because they don't get any freebies over the top. And they've done everything well in New England for 20 years. But I have been banging on them. Joy is my witness. Tui is my witness. Goulet is my witness. I've been saying this for about 5 years on New England. They don't scout receiver well. They don't draft it well. They don't develop it very well. Julian Edelman was a college quarterback. That's classic New England. We're not good at receiver. We'll find somebody who's not a receiver, make him a receiver, and Brady will make him great. It's not the end of anything. This organization does everything right, but we have a changing football world, and it's really changing on the outside, and New England doesn't do that well. And my gut feeling is they have a Hail Mary. The Hail Mary is Antonio Brown gets, if potentially cleared, they give him a second chance, and everything changes. Then you'd have to double Antonio. Edelman's a great 2. Sanu's a remarkable 3. And then Philip Dorsett and N'Keal Harry are terrific 4s. But now everybody's got to move up, and it's just not good enough. You can outcoach. Tripled the Texans rushing. Better on third down. More first downs. Better on more, yes, better. But Deshaun Watson flings it up a couple times. We got receivers. We figured that out, and we win the game. That's the new NFL. You better not be lousy at wide receiver. And New England now may not be lousy, but they're not very good. Still a very good football team. I think they're still in the Super Bowl picture, but can no longer be a favorite unless the Hail Mary to Antonio Brown develops. For the record, Brady went to the owner and put up a massive fight to keep AB for a reason. He knew this would be the issue. They're good enough everywhere else, but get no freebies over the top now. Let's shift gears to Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Tip of the cap to Mike Tomlin, Coach of the Year. Maybe get my vote. Great organizations overcome obstacles. Steelers. Lousy organizations create obstacles. Cleveland. The NFL has always been about structure, and structure is boring. NBA is about stars. That's fun. International soccer is about stars. That's fun. Football's about structure. Owner, GM, coach, quarterback, grown-ups, high IQ, totally focused, kind of boring. The Cleveland Browns have been so chaotic for years. Their structure, so inept, so mocked, so poorly thought of in the league that Freddie Kitchens gets a head coaching job. Freddie Kitchens was a position coach. For years and years, he was known as sort of a funny, likable Southern NFL position coach. Then, because he's over his skis, he was given the big boy job in the corner table, and he puffs his chest out, and he just doesn't feel right. And so now Baker Mayfield, and I could hammer Baker all day today, but I will not. Because I've said from the beginning, Baker is not talented enough to overcome a below-average head coach or a general manager, John Dorsey, who was run out of a better organization, Kansas City. Freddie Kitchens did something, and this really sums it up. I've always said this about crimes. I understand some crimes. I understand crimes of passion. You walk in, your wife's having an affair, you take a baseball bat to a guy, crime of passion. Your kid's starving. You walk into a 7-Eleven, you grab a loaf of bread and peanut butter. Your son's crying at home, they're starving. It's a crime of desperation. Bank robbery is a special kind of dumb. You got to plan it. You got to call people. You need help. It takes weeks. Nobody in the time goes, we're robbing a bank with security cameras. Not great. This is Freddie Kitchens. I understand coaches in the moment, big game, highly leveraged, a lot of pressure, make a play call, and you and I don't like it. I'll defend coaches on that. These games go fast. The clock is running, 75,000 people. It's a playoff game, millions on the line. I make a call on third down. I go for it, and I make a bad call. I'll defend you. But to put a T-shirt on knowing you are now mocking a violent event which embarrassed your franchise in the NFL and allow a fan to take a picture of it is a special kind of dumb. That's what a position coach does or a rookie player does. That is not what an NFL head coach does. And he addressed it after the game and doubled down on it. So you covered it up, so you knew it wasn't a great idea. When you put that T-shirt on, you covered it up. But my daughter thought it was a great idea. My son thought farting in public was funny at 6. I'm not going to do what my son thinks or my daughter thinks. I'm an adult, a head coach, a 7-figure NFL coach, and there was a violent act. Regardless of whose fault, the NFL was embarrassed, your owner was embarrassed, your GM was embarrassed, the league was embarrassed, and you mock it like Cleveland's done all year, looking in the rearview mirror on an event 2 weeks ago. Folks, Freddie Kitchens is what Cleveland ends up with. Pittsburgh ends up with Mike Tomlin, and Bill Cowher, and Chuck Noll. Great organizations have a job opening, and the very best at everything rushes to sign up for it. Cleveland has a job opening, and Freddie Kitchens is the best candidate. Great organizations, Pittsburgh Steelers, on a third or fourth string quarterback overcome obstacles. Lousy organizations wearing a T-shirt to a game, lousy organizations create obstacles. Ramon Foster of the Steelers couldn't believe when he saw the coach and the T-shirt. Again, there is good news for Cleveland. The good news between the helmet incident and your coach not having the wherewithal to understand how serious it was and mock it, it gives Cleveland the ability now to fire Freddie Kitchens. GMs do not like to hire coaches and have to fire them within a year because it means the GM hired the wrong guy. And John Dorsey has got an ego. He does not want to fire Freddie Kitchens. So that loss yesterday, if Cleveland wins that game and wins the rest of the games and goes 9-7, Freddie Kitchens is hard to fire because I hired him. If I hire somebody, I don't want to fire him a year later, or I'm acknowledging I whiffed. But John Dorsey can now go out and say, between the helmet, lack of respect, between the T-shirt, you know what, I gave a young man a chance, and he just wasn't right for the job. So there is a silver lining in this annual dumpster fire. Freddie Kitchens is officially a coach, unofficially fired by the Cleveland Browns. It'll be announced fairly soon. A week, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, they'll move on. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.